notice that your child is waking up frequently and coming out of their rooms, or you're noticing that their sleep is very restless, they're waking up tired, or they're waking up multiple times at night and they're extremely hot, they're sweaty, and these things maybe because they have an underlying sleep issue, like a sleep disorder, but many times it might just be that their bedroom is not optimized. So in this video, we're really going to be delving into 3 tips that you can use to optimize your child's bedroom environment. I'm Dr. Funke-Afolabi-Brown, the founder of Restful Sleep MD and the Restful Sleep Place, where we talk about how you can optimize your sleep so that you and your child can thrive and reach a fullest potential. So there are a few things that I would consider when we talk about sleep hygiene and the bedroom. Now, you've heard that term thrown around many times, such that many people don't even pay attention to it anymore. Like, please, those are just so basic. Let's go on to the big things. Let's go on to the supplements. Let's go on to all the sleep hacks. Listen, let's keep things really simple. You see the sleep thing? There's a whole lot of hurrah, there's a whole lot of information out there that seems to make things even more complicated. And you're a parent, you're already tired. You don't need things that are complicated. And so, again, I always talk about this. If your child is having issues with their sleep, they're waking up unrefreshed, you need to make sure they don't have a sleep disorder. But one thing I don't want us to neglect is really the basics. Now, when it comes to talking about your child's bedroom environment, one of the things I recommend is create a sleep sanctuary. Just the same way you would create one for yourself, you want to create a sleep sanctuary for your child. You want a room that is conducive for sleep, right? You want a room that they feel comfortable staying in. So here are 3 things that I would say that you need to pay attention to. One is light, the second is noise, and the third thing is the temperature. So think of it like this. Essentially, you want your child to be sleeping in a cool, dark cave, meaning as dark as possible. You want it to be as quiet or free of disruptive noise as possible, and you want it to be cool. So let's talk about the light element. So here is what happens. When our children are going to sleep, and also when we are going to sleep, there are signals that are sent to your brain, right? And those signals respond to light. So, or lack thereof. So it's evening, and we have this internal clocks we call the circadian rhythms, which regulate our sleep and our wake cycle. And it responds to a hormone that's released from our brain, melatonin. It's released by a small structure in our brain called the pineal gland. You may have heard of melatonin. Yes, the melatonin you get over the counter is actually not the real melatonin. That's the synthetic melatonin. Your brain creates or produces melatonin regularly in the evening. It's released usually in the morning. When there's light, it's suppressed. And this is how our sleep wake cycle is regulated. Okay. Unfortunately, there's a lot of light pollution. So even in a situation where your child's room might be dark, you may notice that there's light from outside, meaning outside the house. It might be light from the corridor. It might be light from like their humidifier or air purifier or their white noise machine. It could be light from anywhere. The bottom line is any type of light is going to disrupt your child's brain sleep, production of melatonin, and it might potentially lead to sleep that is fragmented. So, because the thing about it is the brain doesn't necessarily know, oh, this is natural light, this is sunlight, oh, this is artificial light. It doesn't recognize, oh, this is light that's coming from a phone, oh, this is light that's coming from, the light from the house or a bedside lamp. It just sees light and it says, okay, I guess it's daylight. And that can be very tricky because what then happens is that it might decrease the release of that melatonin, and so can lead to your child having a hard time falling asleep, or they might wake up early. This is another area where I see where, for instance, I had a family where they had this 6 month old, no, it was 9 months, 9 month old. They were concerned about sleep regression, which it might be, that's fine. But one of the things they kept saying is, well, this child is waking up at 5 a.m. We don't know what to do. And they had done all the right things. We'd gone through a lot of sleep training strategies, but it seemed like this kept happening. And so part of our evaluation is really evaluating the bedroom. And so I wanted to kind of get a sense of what the room is like. Does it look dark enough? And sure enough, the way the bedroom was positioned when the sun rises in the morning, or even before the sun rises in the morning, once there's light coming from outside, it was sneaking in. And so, they needed to get some blackout shades. And really, that became the end of that. Child was able to sleep for most of the night, and really was able to stay in their room and sleep for most of the night. So it just goes to show how important that light pollution is. So this is what I usually will recommend. Step into your child's room, with the lights off, the curtains down, the blackout shades, and I want you to just bring out your hands. And you should not be able to see your hands. That's how dark it should be. Like literally, it should be that dark. So that would be the ideal, very dark as much as possible. Now, the question then comes, what if I have a child who is scared of the dark? And that is very common, especially if you have a child like 4, 5, 6, and sometimes older kids as well. And so, one of the things I would say is you might consider investing in, a nightlight. This is just a small nightlight that can be plugged in. But here's what you need to do: you need to make sure that that nightlight is not within their visual field. They cannot see it directly because that might affect them. And many times, anyway, the nightlight is great because it's usually orange or red light. It isn't that blue wavelength light that tends to disrupt sleep as much. And so you may want to keep it somewhere, maybe at the head of the bed, where they're not able to see that light directly. So that is something that would definitely help. Now, what about those like lights, the stars in the sky, those projections? I would say be careful. If your child is sleeping well, you know what? It's all good. But if you're having a child who's having disrupted sleep, that like maybe part of why they're waking up, because it's all LED and they can see stars and the moon, and it's beautiful, but is it good enough for their sleep? If you have things like the air purifier or the fan or the air conditioner that has even just that teensy little light that's on, I would say cover it with either some painter's tape, some kind of tape, to make sure they do not have access to any other type of blue light or any other type of light. Now, again, this may seem very small change, but it's going to make a big difference, especially if you have a child that's waking up frequently. So that was the light factor. Really keep the room as dark as possible. The second thing I would recommend is the temperature. You want to make sure the temperature is optimized. A cool temperature will promote good sleep. Here's the science behind it. As we are going to sleep, our core body temperature actually drops. And this is all part of that melatonin process. So it improves your sleep quality. It helps you to stay asleep. And so if you have a child that's hot, restless, uncomfortable, they're going to wake up multiple times. Think of us as parents. If you have those hot flashes or those night sweats, you're going to wake up, you're going to have very disrupted sleep. So here's what I recommend. I recommend that the rest of the bedroom should be cooler than the rest of the house. You may not be able to tolerate the 65 degrees that's sometimes recommended or the 72 degrees. It's really just finding that optimal temperature that works for you. So take it down a little bit and then check. And there are a few ways you can see how your child is doing, right? You could put your hand right behind their pajamas when they're sleeping. And if it feels wet, if it feels moist, they're way too hot. You could, look at their hair. If their hair looks wet and it's pasted on their faces, then they're definitely too hot. If they tell you they're hot, then they're probably too hot. And then you want to also invest in like breathable fabric, things that even if they sweat, they cool off real quick. You want to make sure that the beddings are breathable, right? So you want to make sure that, for instance, in the summer, you're not layering them with so many blankets. You really want to keep things as minimal as possible. You might need to get a fan if the air conditioning costs are a lot. You might need to get a fan, just something to cool things down. Of course, in the winter, it's probably a lot easier, but in the summer, it can get very, very hot. So pay attention to that. A child who is hot is going to have very restless sleep. And if sleep is restless, that's poor quality sleep. Poor quality sleep means a cranky child during the day. So you definitely want to pay attention to, the temperature factor. And then the third thing that you really want to pay attention to is the noise. There are many ways by which noise will disrupt your child's sleep and your sleep as well. There might be a parent or a spouse that's snoring. It might be people in the, outside that are still getting ready for bed. And so clanging of pots and pans as you're cleaning the kitchen. That noise gets transmitted very, very easily, especially if you're walls are thin. It might be people outside, it might be people driving, depending on where your house is. You might find that, there are people driving, and so because of that, you're hearing a lot of noise and your child is having a hard time sleeping. I see this a lot. If you have a sibling who's maybe crying at bedtime, that's going to impact the sleep of your child. So I usually will say you want to keep that room as quiet as possible. But not everybody likes quiet, because quiet may mean that you now have access to external noise. So that's something to consider, or at least make sure that you're masking noise. So external noise getting into your child's bedroom can come again from somebody snoring next door, can come from the car outside, can come from the noise that's within the household. And you don't want to feel like you're stepping on tippy toes from, like, maybe 7:30 p.m. when your child goes to bed all the way to 10:30 p.m. when you go to bed, or something like that, right? We live a real life. So one of the things, a few things you might consider would be earplugs. Now, that's really hard for a little child. And I do not recommend it for a child that's under like 3 or 4 years old. Why? Because there's a risk of them ingesting, and goodness knows we don't want to deal with that. The other thing that you should probably consider instead is a white noise machine. And so a lot of families actually have this, maybe when their kids were babies. Sometimes you have like a night light that also has, white noise machine attached. And so that is a very good way. And what does that do? It literally will create almost like a sound bubble. And so the best thing is you keep that white noise machine as close to the source of noise as possible. So I have a device that I love, and this is by Manta Sleep. It's their new, look how small it is. It's insane. It's their new white noise machine. And so it has this remote control, a giant button for you to press start and stop. And then it has buttons for the audio, like how loud do you want it to be? How low do you want it to be? And the beauty of it is, I also love the fact that it has 15 looping sounds. So from white noise to brown noise to rain to, it's to forest, it's incredible. So they're different pitches, and so you can choose the one that works best for you. And then there's also a timer function. So if you want it to be on for about 30 minutes, or you want it to play throughout the entire night, you could have that option. And then this is the speaker. And so essentially what you do is you keep this as close to where the noise is coming from. So if you know that the noise is coming from outside, you maybe put it just by your child's bedroom door. If your child is sharing a bedroom, right, or sharing a bedroom with a sibling, you have one sibling that's a little bit noisier, you just want to kind of put it in between them. Again, this sort of creates a sound bubble. I just really like the fact that it is portable, it is effective. You can have it as loud as is safe, and then also you can take it down a little bit. If you have someone who snores, you want to use that as well. So this is a great tool. White noise machine. This product is by Manta Sleep, and it's great. But then there's so many other products out there. I like this because, again, it's very portable, it's small, and I love the ginormous remote control, especially if it's dark, you could just hit it. And then the other thing I like about it is, there are no lights or anything that could potentially disrupt your child's sleep. So controlling noise is so important when it comes to optimizing your child's sleep environment. So we've talked about different things here, right? We've talked about optimizing the light factor, making sure things are as dark as possible. We've talked about optimizing temperature, making sure things are comfortably cool, and very importantly, optimizing noise to make sure that there are no distracting noises that's going to fragment your child's sleep and lead to them having very restless sleep and waking up and really being cranky during the day. Now you've done all that and your child is still struggling with sleeping. Your child is, waking up multiple times, coming to your bedroom, they're waking up unrefreshed. That might be the time to reach out and say, okay, what else could be going on? Reach out to your doctor, have them evaluate your child. Is there pain? Pain is a big one. Is there restlessness due to something else, right? Do they have a sleep disorder? All those questions can be answered by just speaking up and saying, well, what we're doing is right now not working. Can you look this over, right? And one other thing is you have to make sure, like, advocate for your child's sleep, advocate for your sleep, because a lot of the sleep conditions, pretty much every sleep disorder that we know, is treatable one way or the other. So that is something I want you to take away from this. So We've talked about a lot of things. I hope this has been helpful. Listen, if you're out there and you're like, I don't even know where to start, grab a copy of our book, Beyond Tired, A Sleep Physician's Guide to Solving Your Child's Sleep Problems for Good. It is available on Amazon. It's an amazing tool that you can use to educate yourself about sleep. Listen, this is something we just assume we'll know automatically, but sometimes you need that manual, and that manual is Beyond Tired. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Again, help circulate, get the word out. So share this with those in your community. Hit the subscribe button. You know what to do. Help us to get that message out. And until next time, I hope you rest well.